Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And in March last year, I was in Ireland, and it's a beautiful, beautiful part of the world. And I got an email from Kevin, who's an old fart like me. In fact, he's 8 years older, so he's a very old fart. Okay, so let's understand that. He's also an Irish journalist and writer. And he wrote as follows: my articles criticize left-wing opinion and the liberal consensus, sometimes incorporating hyperbole, sarcasm, and parody. This essay appeared in the Irish Independent. Here we go. Somalia is not a humanitarian disaster. It is an evolutionary disaster. The current drought is not the worst in 50 years, as the BBC and all the aid organizations claim. It is nothing compared to the droughts in 1960 or 61 or 73 to 74. And there are continuing droughts every 5 years or so. It's just that there are now 4 times the population having been kept alive by famine relief supplied by aid organizations over the past 50 years. So of course the effects of any drought now is a famine. They cannot even feed themselves in a normal rainfall year. Worst yet, the effects of these droughts and poor nutrition in the first 3 years of a child's life have a lasting effect on the development of the infant's brain, so that if they survive, they will never achieve a normal IQ. Consequently, they are selectively breeding a population who cannot be educated, let alone one that is not being educated, a recipe for disaster. We are seeing this impact now, and it can only exacerbate to the detriment of their neighbors and their environment as well. This scenario can only end in an even worse disaster, with even worse suffering for those benighted people and their descendants. Eventually, some mechanism will intervene, be it war, disease, or starvation. So what do? Let them starve? What a dilemma for our Judeo-Christian Islamic ethos, as well as Hindu-Buddhist morality. And this is beginning to happen in Kenya, Ethiopia, Zimbabwe, Lesotho, parts of South Africa, Ethiopia, and other countries in Asia like Pakistan. Is this the beginning of the end for civilization? Africa is giving nothing to anyone outside Africa, apart from AIDS and new diseases. Even as we see African states refusing to take action to restore something resembling civilization in Zimbabwe, the begging bowl for Ethiopia is being passed around to us out of Africa. Yet again, it is nearly 25 years since the famous Feed the World campaign began in Ethiopia, and in that time Ethiopia's population has grown from 33.5 million to 78 plus million today. So why on earth should I do anything to encourage further catastrophic demographic growth in that country? Where is the logic? There is none. And of course the same is happening in South Africa today. To be sure, there are 2 things saying that the logic doesn't count. One is my conscience, and the other is a picture yet again of another wide-eyed child, yet again gazing, yet again at the camera, which yet again captures the tragedy of a child starving. Sorry, my conscience has toured this territory on foot and financially. Unlike most of you, I have been to Ethiopia. Like most of you, I have stomped up the loot to charities to stop starvation there. The wide-eyed boy child we saved 20 years ago or so is now a low IQ AK-47 bearing moron. Siring children whenever the whim takes him, and blaming the world because he is uneducated, poor, and left behind. There is no doubt a good argument why we should prolong this predatory and dysfunctional economic, social, and sexual system, but I do not know what it is. There is, on the other hand, every reason not to write a column like this. It will win no friends and will provoke the self-righteous wrath of, well, the self-righteous, hand-wringing, letter-wringing, wrathful individuals, a species which never fails to contaminate almost every debate in Irish life with its sneers and its moral superiority. It will also probably enrage some of the finest men in Irish life, like John O'Shea of Goll and the Finucane brothers, men who I admire enormously. So be it. But please, please, you self-righteously wrathful, spare me mention of our own Irish famine with this or that lazy analogy. There is no comparison. Within 20 years of the famine, the Irish population was down by 30%. Over the equivalent period, thanks to Western food, the Mercedes 10-wheel truck and Lockheed Hercules plane, Ethiopia's population has more than doubled. Alas, that wretched country is not alone in its madness. Somewhere over the rainbow lies Somalia, another fine land of violent AK-47 toting, cut chewing, girl circumcising, permanently tumescent layabouts and housing pirates of the ocean. Indeed, we now have almost an entire continent of sexually hyperactive, illiterate indigents, with tens of millions of people who only survive because of the help from the outside world or allowances by the semi-communist governments they voted for. Money supplied by borrowing it from the World Bank. This dependency has not stimulated political prudence or common sense. Indeed, voodoo-eyed idiocy seems to be in the ascendant, with the President of South Africa being a firm believer in the efficacy of a little tap water on the post-coital penis as a sure preventative against AIDS infection. Needless to say, poverty, hunger, and societal meltdown have not prevented idiotic wars involving Tiger, Uganda, Congo, Sudan, Somalia, Eritrea, etc. Broad brush strokes, to be sure. But broad brush strokes are often the way that history paints its gaudier, if more decisive chapters. Japan, China, Russia, Korea, Poland, Germany, Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia in the 20th century have endured worse broad brush strokes than almost any part of Africa. They are now, one way or the other, virtually or all, giving aid to or investing in Africa, whereas Africa, with its vast savannas and its lush pastures, is giving almost nothing to anyone apart from AIDS. Meanwhile, Africa's populations are outstripping their resources and causing catastrophic ecological degradation. By 2050, the population of Ethiopia will be 177 million people, the equivalent of France, Germany, and Benelux today, but located on the parched and increasingly protein-free wastelands of the Great Rift Valley. So how much sense does it make for us to actively increase the adult population of what is already a vastly overpopulated, environmentally devastated, and economically dependent country? How much morality is there in saving an Ethiopian child from starvation today, for it to survive to a life of brutal circumcision, poverty, hunger, violence, and sexual abuse, resulting in another half-dozen such wide-eyed children with comparably jolly little lives ahead of them? Of course, it might make you feel better, which is a prime reason for such charity. But that is not enough. For self-serving generosity has been one of the curses of Africa. It has sustained a political system which would otherwise have collapsed. It prolonged the Eritrean-Ethiopian War by nearly a decade. It is inspiring Bill Gates' program to rid the continent of malaria, when in the almost complete absence of personal self-discipline, that disease is one of the most efficacious forms of population control now operating. If his program is successful, tens of millions of children who would otherwise have died in infancy will survive to adulthood, he boasts. Oh, good. Then what? And this is the kicker of the whole story. And he says, I know, let them all come here. A very, very incisive and interesting commentary. Alright guys, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video, please share this video, and above all, stay safe.